Today we're going to check out a watch that has one of the cleanest designs you'll ever see. And it's also built like an absolute tank. The only problem is the brand calls this a field watch, but I don't think it is. Nonetheless, this is a super slim automatic watch that you'll want to see in a bit more detail. Hello there, my name is Kieran, welcome to Top Tier Ticker. I hope you're having a good day. One of my favourite things to do on the channel is check out watches from brands that I've not tried out in the past. And this is a brand that has been recommended to me by a lot of you guys. You rave on about the quality, the designs, and the customer service of this brand in the comment sections of my videos. Today's watch is a keeper. I do get to keep it after the video, but as usual, everything said in this video is my opinion only. Today's watch is from an Australian micro brand. Although the brand themselves don't necessarily have a deep history, the watch that we're checking out today certainly has an interesting backstory, and it's inspired by something that is unique to this watch. So let's get the confusing part out of the way then. What style of watch is this? Well, this is the second hour Sattelberg Mark II. Second hour states that this is a field watch, but I really don't think it is. I'm not someone that gets hung up too much on genres, but this just doesn't feel like a field watch. When I first saw this watch, I thought that it was like a modern take on a Flieger, with the oversized Arabic numerals and triangle up at the 12. I think this watch looks way more like an IWC than a Hamilton or CWC, for example. Regardless, I think the correct label for this watch is military-inspired Garda watch, because this watch is built to survive pretty much anything you can throw at it, with that military-esque focus on legibility. So that backstory then. This watch is called the Sattelberg, which is the name of a hill in New Guinea. This is a location where Australian troops fought for their freedom during World War II. A cool little Easter egg for this inspiration can be found on the case back, where the longitude and latitude of the hill is engraved. We do see a lot of watches that are inspired by World War II, but the story here is definitely more personal, and from what I understand, unique to this watch. So I say this watch is built like a tank, let's find out why. So this watch is made from 316L stainless steel, however that doesn't quite tell the full story. You see, this watch features a hardness coating on top of the steel to help avoid scratches. This increases the hardness of this watch up to 1200 Vickers, which basically means you can beat the hell out of this watch and it should look better for longer. And I'm glad that the coating is on this watch because the finishing is worth protecting. The finishing on this watch is super crispy and clean. We have a fine horizontal brush to the case sides, a polished chamfered edge separating the sides and the lugs, and then a fine vertical brush to the upper lug surface. There's then a tiny polished surface where the bezel meets the case, but then the sloped bezel surface features a circular brush. The bracelet also features a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces, and the quality of finishing here matches the case. This is genuinely some of the cleanest finishing that I've seen on an affordable piece. The crystal sits slightly proud of the bezel, and this is a flat piece of sapphire with anti-reflective treatment. Clarity here is really good, but then again we do have oversized Arabic numerals, so it'd be near impossible not to. This watch features a signed screw-down crown. The case back is engraved, as we mentioned earlier, and is also screwed to the case, which provides this watch with 100 meters of water resistance, which is sort of the minimum I'd want on my everyday watch. Now this watch comes as standard on this 7-link bracelet. It's got that beads of rice style in terms of the design, but of course the links here are much flatter. This bracelet tapers from 20mm up at the lugs to 18mm at the clasp. I usually prefer a little bit more of a taper with my everyday watches, but hey, at least it has a bit of taper. Another part of this watch that feels incredibly over-engineered is this clasp. It features a double push button deployant and everything is completely milled here, and of course we have an on-the-fly system inside of the clasp. Now I know us watch nerds love our watches to be overbuilt where possible, and this is one of the sturdiest, well-built clasps that I've ever seen on an affordable watch. Second Hour also sent over the straps that they sell as an optional add-on. For some reason you can't order the watch on the strap. This one is a black leather strap with white stitching. Quality here is decent for the price point, so if you want to wear the watch on a strap and have the matching hardware, then for £33, Second Hour has you covered. Another feature which makes me think that this is more of a pilot's watch than a field watch is actually the size of the piece. This watch comes in with a 40mm case diameter. Lug to lug is a hair under 47mm, but then yeah, the most impressive dimension is the case thickness, coming in at just 9.9mm. 40mm is of course a universal size that fits almost everyone. And because this watch is so slim, it does wear an absolute treat. Now this watch is so thin thanks to the movement used. Inside here is the Miyota 9015, which beats at 28,800 vibrations per hour, so you get 8 ticks per second. One thing to note here is that this version of the movement does feature a date window, and second hour have integrated the date window quite well on this watch. It sits just above that 6 o'clock index, sort of within that darker ring, and because the date window here is black, it sort of fades into the dial quite well. Now I'm usually pretty good at identifying the style of hands on watches, but I genuinely don't know what to call this style of hands. They're almost fence post in construction, but then they do have a slight taper to them too. If you know the name of this style of hands, let me know down in the comments. The second hand though does feature an oversized arrow which is painted in red, and this does stand out incredibly well against that white minute track. The handset here is completely polished, so they can occasionally blend into the dark dial, but I think we can all agree that the dial design here is just super clean. The white numerals are almost 3D in construction and sit above the outer dial. That's then almost framed in this sort of dark grey circle. Then the inner dial features an incredibly dynamic sunburst finish. This is one of the strongest sunburst finishes I've ever seen on a watch, in fact. We then have the second hour logo beneath the 12 o'clock index, and then just the model name and automatic above that date window. Legibility here is no doubt fantastic, even considering that those hands can sometimes get lost in the dial a little bit because of their polished finish. And lume on this watch is also pretty good. Now the numerals are so large here that I would be surprised if the lume was bad, and this watch uses BGW9, so you get that nice blue glow. Now this watch comes in 3 different versions. There is a copper dial, a blue dial, and a black dial. Believe it or not, the one that I have here is actually the black dial, even though the central dial definitely has some blue tones, and that outer dial even feels a little bit blue too. There is an even bluer version of this watch. I'm not too sure why they've called this model the black, because I really can't see a single black surface on this watch, but truth be told, I think the copper version is actually the best looking. Okay, flaws. What don't I like about this watch? Now I think Second Hour have done a good job with the design here. However, I feel like underneath the logo just feels a little bit empty. I think they could have put the Second Hour text beneath here and it would have looked a little bit better. But what do you guys think? Do you like the logo, or would you have liked the text too? I would have liked to have seen Second Hour offer a couple more colours of this watch. The blue and the black feel very similar, as this black dial is almost blue anyway. I would have liked to have seen maybe a green or a yellow, just to add a little bit more choice to the lineup. But my main complaint is probably this big chunky clasp. This clasp is 8.3 millimeters thick, which on a diver wouldn't be that bad, but when the watch is only 9.9 millimeters thick, the clasp just feels too big and chunky on this watch. And the final flaw for me is probably this handset. I think a different style with a brushed finish would have looked a little bit better. So price, this watch comes in at 870 Aussie dollars, which is 547 US dollars or 440 pounds. This watch comes with a 2-year warranty and ships from Australia as mentioned earlier, so make sure you factor in import duties and taxes into the cost of the watch. For everything on offer here, I feel like that is a fair price. Decent movement, hardness coating, sapphire crystal. Yes, the clasp is a bit chunky, but you are getting that on the fly system. So I feel like the spec sheet for the price is fair here. It's certainly not a watch you would exclusively buy for the spec sheet. Regardless of whether this is a field watch, a pilot's watch, a military watch, whatever you want to call it, it's no doubt got an exceptionally clean and versatile design and would make a great go anywhere, do anything piece to almost any collection. You'll of course find a link to the Sattelberg in the description below. If you need a military inspired everyday watch that can take pretty much anything you can throw at it, this might be the one to check out. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to hit like and subscribe just down there, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.